music has a profound impact on both the mind and body. Imagine a room with love, music, and a guitar. You have magic. Today on Chezuba Talks, we meet someone who's creating that magic across schools, prisons, hospitals, social service centers, and shelters. These are passionate people with the mission of changing lives through music. Hello, I'm Tej and I host Chezuba Talks. And with me today is Dr. Matthew Hinsley. He is the Executive Director of Austin Classical Guitar. Since 1996, Dr. Matthew Hinsley has been a transformative force in community arts and music education in Central Texas. Named Public Citizen of the Year in 2017 by the Texas statewide division of the National Association of Social Workers, and winner of a 2015 Austin Under 40 Award, Dr. Matthew has worked as a community arts organizer in Central Texas. He is the executive director of Austin Classical Guitar. He has raised millions of dollars in support of broad concerts, outreach, and educational programming, and building the nation's largest classical guitar nonprofit organization. As a founder of guitarcurriculum.com, he has revolutionized guitar education across America. The curriculum, which is now used internationally, is in service in 50 area schools, including programs at the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Gardner Betts of the Travis County Juvenile Justice System, and the foster care system. He's a respected author and professor at the University of Texas. Matthew teaches arts entrepreneurship and has penned several books, including a fantasy series. I am so honored to have you on Chezuba Talks, Matthew.
Tej, it's just such a joy to be here with you. Thank you, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
Very impressive, of course. And thank you. I really can't thank you enough for joining us today and sparing the time to talk to us. So tell us about the beginnings of your nonprofit and how music created this, effect where you are able to create transformation in so many people.
I started running the nonprofit 28 years ago when I was 20 years old, and I was just starting my master's degree. And so I've had a lot of opportunity to watch change over time. And I think the most profound thing that happened was a shift from a focus in the organization on the guitar itself, the craft of playing the guitar, the art of classical guitar, and those people involved in the industry toward a focus on our community, toward a focus on what I like to call real people. The people in our world, through the medium of music, we are able to work with, to meet, to reach, to engage and lift up and to celebrate. And that was a long, slow process, Tej. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's been a lot of years, but I would say in the first 10 or so years of my involvement, again, personally, as a student of the classical guitar, somebody who went through the conservatory system, I think I sort of was brought up in an environment where there were certain preconceptions around what great music making was, who it was for, and how it should be consumed. And I love that space. I love great art. I love the best players in the world. And in the classical guitar world, I happen to know most of them because they've been through here on our concert series. And I celebrate that music in so many ways. But at the same time, there came a long and slow realization that there is so much more. Music is for every single person in the world. You don't have to be great at music in order to love music and to have an experience with music that is absolutely every bit as valid as the experience that might be had with a really advanced artist, for example. And so finding the ways that music can weave through our spaces, as you mentioned, shelters or prisons or schools. These are environments I feel so lucky to be able to enter into and witness beauty in on a regular basis. For example, last Friday, we had a concert at the Williamson County Juvenile Justice Center where we have had a program since 2017. That means that my team, my amazing team, has been in that a lockdown facility every single school day since 2017, making music with kids. And that, if you think about that for a moment, is profound in and of itself, because it's many, many, many hours over a long period of time using music as a medium for connection and the building of relationships and relationships between youth and adult mentor figures in a place where many of the young people have had a profound deprivation of exactly those kinds of relationships in their lives. So last Friday, I had 25 members of the public with me to come and hear the kids in their final recital. And most of the people that were with me had never been in a facility like that. Were not used to surrendering their phones and all their metal objects and putting them in lockers and going through metal detectors and giant magnetic doors that close and lock behind you at every stage as you enter into the facility. And when we got into the place where the kids were going to perform, it was a gymnasium where on the left side, the seats were filled with residents of the facility who were not in the guitar program. And there were many guards on that side of the room. And then our guests sat down in the empty chairs on the right side of the room. And up front, we had 6 kiddos that were in the guitar class, each holding a guitar, and each with sort of different degrees of sort of fear and trepidation on their faces, because none of them had ever performed anything in public before for an audience of this size. And many of the kids in these facilities have told us that when they receive applause, it's the first time anybody's clapped for them in their lives, for example.
That is profound.
That is profound. And so, but I think the energy of fear and sort of not knowing what to expect was shared by everybody in the space. We brought 20 strangers into a space, and the chatter was sort of a little bit bright with this sort of nervous energy. And then there was an announcement made that the concert was going to start, and everybody quieted down. And one young man started the concert playing a solo on his guitar, a beautiful piece called Distant Landscapes by Joseph Palmer. And Tej, it was beautiful. It was this moment of complete transformation of that space, where the sound of music created with care and with dynamic shape and the creation of a beautiful offering in this sort of a phrase of soft, gentle, and intentional sound filled that space and changed everything in a moment. And it also, I think, changed in a way the narrative and the relationship of the people in the room, because you have someone who is in a facility and being looked at, scrutinized, and judged for the worst thing they've ever done in their lives, transforming in that moment into being a young artist, sharing something of beauty with a group of appreciative listeners. So that's just an example of the kinds of things I get to see day in and
Very,
day out.
very beautifully expressed and described too. I can actually visualize the place that you just talked about. So, when you started these programs, these classes for inmates or veterans or different client groups, basically, uh, how did you decide to tailor your programs? What was the objective? Yes, music is one, but how did you tailor it to suit what their circumstances? Or is it like, they said, oh, I just want to learn how to play a song, and you just go along with it, or your team goes along with it? Or do you have a sort of a curriculum there?
What a great question. So everything that I do, of course, is in coordination with my team, and in particular, my director of education, who's a gentleman named Travis Markham. Travis has been my partner in this for 19 years now. So we've done a lot of work together. And actually, when we moved our programming into the juvenile justice system specifically, it was Travis that did that personally before he learned the ropes and was able to pass it along to other members of our team and then grow. And that's how we grow a lot of our services. It's interesting. You ask a tough question, Tej, because what we did at the beginning is not necessarily what we do now. There's always learning and there's always growth and evolution as we discover more about how to do a better job, how to reach people in a superior way. But I would say, yes, we have a curriculum. It lives at a place called guitarcurriculum.com. And America, broadly speaking, had no guitar in schools before 2000. Or very rarely did it have guitar in schools. You would have choir, orchestra, or band programs in schools, but very rarely would you find guitar. So one of the reasons we've been able to scale and build as much as we've built in the last 22 years since we started building education programs is that we're building something that didn't exist before. And many schools are really interested in having guitar because guitar is the most popular instrument in the world. So lots and lots and lots of kids want to play it. What we did was devise a system that is literacy-based and has a really smart approach to teaching guitar in large groups so that kids are learning in an ensemble. It's a social learning environment, which is very different than most of the classic ways of teaching guitar, often one-on-one in sort of a studio setting. But everything we have offered to the world is really in this group lesson format where large numbers of kids can play together at the same time. So the entire curriculum is designed to support teachers that are doing that. But I would say most importantly, to answer your question, we have a mantra. And the mantra goes like this: expressive, beautiful music making from the very first day. And combined with that particular mantra are 5 elements. And we train all of our teachers, hundreds and hundreds of teachers all across the United States and beyond. We train all of them on these 5 elements. And the 5 elements are belonging, personal responsibility, perseverance through small achievable challenges, performance, and celebration. Belonging, personal responsibility, perseverance, performance, and celebration. And we expect our teachers to display all 5 of those elements every single day, so that students in every single class period are having an opportunity to perform, to be celebrated for those performances, to be recognized as individuals, to be encouraged to make music, to make decisions, to be part of the process of learning, to encourage a sense of personal responsibility, to encourage a sense of personal importance to the larger ensemble, that they matter as individuals, their voice matters and their performance matters. And that leads to the ability to persevere through challenges, because all learning is accomplishing things you haven't accomplished before. But we have an opportunity as teachers to structure that journey such that everything we're putting in front of a student is an achievable challenge, that with the degree of belonging and a sense of personal responsibility through which they will be able to persevere. So it's a cyclical sense. But with those elements, and those are really elements that exist in the mind of the student and in the mind of the teacher. So this is not outward curriculum. It's not which piece are we going to play, or which finger are we going to learn to use, or how are you going to move technically. All of those things are comprehended in the curriculum as well. But they become much less important, actually, than the kind of consciousness of the individuals that are involved. And when that consciousness is built at a point where trust can be developed, where joy and expressivity is being accomplished, even at the early stages, then you can do anything. You can play a pop tune that they're hearing on the radio. You can play a piece by Mozart that's been arranged for a bunch of guitars, and anything in between, and achieve it with the same degree of sort of care and attention. So we spend a lot of time focusing on those invisible things.
Let's take a break to understand what Chezuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state of the art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chezuba began with this very vision, a vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chezuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chezuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chezuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest. Right. These are intangible, but when you say your teachers also need to understand this sense of being, uh, do you think that the first few sessions will go in just understanding the teacher and the learner, um, the kind of situation they are in, what they are feeling at that moment? Because you can't start day one with, okay, this is string number one, this is string of this G minor, this is whatever. So what is your initial, you know, how do you kind of immerse the
Such a great
student into
question.
the
So we do have a
program?
lot of very simple things that are really beautiful, believe it or not. Because you can play string one, but you can also play string one softly, and you can play it loud, and you can play it fast, and you can play it slow, and you can play it very together. And if you combine that with just one other element, say string five, and then ask the entire class to play it at exactly the same time, and then ask them to play it 5 times in a row very, very quietly, then immediately everybody's sitting forward and listening and paying attention and refining. And as soon as you enter into a space of refinement, then you've entered into expressivity and you open that doorway to joy. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be entertained for months playing only string one and string five, but that's the first 5 minutes. So then we can move on from those first 5 minutes and add another skill, which then can be kind of layered on top of what we've already learned. And before long, you're doing something with a little bit of complexity. And you're asking again always for refinement. So much of our medium of connection is refinement. We have two change agents that we talk about in the organization, and our change
Mhm.
agents are beauty and kindness. Beauty is this business of learning music. It's our organizing principle. We come together for the beauty of a concert. We come together to make beautiful guitar music. That's the organizing principle. But within that container, we have an opportunity for kindness. And in that space, we can build the kinds of things that turn into long term friendship, if you will, trust, energy, alignment, belief. Those kinds of things really run over, around, and underneath all of the structural learning that occurs. And I actually do think this is a bit of a shift in thinking around education, because so frequently when we talk about education, we talk about the structure of learning. We talk about the outputs, the measurables, and almost every teacher that I've ever spoken to will bemoan that aspect of the education system, especially as regards to standardized tests and things of that nature. But so much of what causes somebody to have positive outputs over time, be they on a standardized test or any other kind of a measurable output, is going to be what's going on inside of them. How much they feel like they belong in
Very
the
true.
class, how much they
Yes.
want to be there, how much they want to apply their discretionary effort to the subject.
Mm.
And that's where those 5 elements are really, really helpful, I think, for
Very.
teachers.
So, when you go to a facility or a shelter, for example, and you say that we are here to, teach you guitar classes, do you have people who come to you and say, okay, I want to learn the guitar? Or do you have people that come to you and say, okay, I have nothing better to do, and that is why I want to learn the guitar? being very honest here. So, what kind of student do you look for?
We are wide open, Tej. We are so not interested in creating the greatest guitarists in the world, even though we often create spectacular guitarists. So we're interested in supporting kids, or adults for that matter, who are interested in taking their skills as far as they can. We have entire systems for providing high quality instruments for dedicated students and direct personal professional instruction to help students level the playing field if they can't, for example, afford that kind of level of instruction. So believe me, we're interested in high achievement, but we're much more interested in bringing anybody into a joyful experience who might benefit from it, especially where there's potentially profound need. And those are the kinds of things you encounter in say, a shelter environment. Um, the way we find those students is both of the things that you described. And we also work a lot with caseworkers and counselors. So there may be a counselor who is working with an individual who, for one reason or another, has experienced trauma, and for one reason or another is withdrawn socially. And they haven't said they want to learn guitar, but the counselor feels like perhaps music is one of those things that could be helpful for this kind of a scenario. And so we will jump into that opportunity to share with that individual. And if that individual has a little bit of joy, then great. We're really totally disinterested in how they progress along the line of advancement on the instrument. That is our organizing principle again. So great when they progress, they're going to want to progress. They're more interested in that than we are. But if we come back after a few days and they haven't practiced, that's not a problem. We meet them right where they are with kindness in this space of trying to move forward. And that's the opportunity that music gives us. Music gives us opportunity over time. It is a time-based art form. And in this sense, it gives us time to meet that individual who might be isolated because of things that they've been through, might be isolated because of a language barrier, might be isolated for some other reason. They may have just gotten some news that was unwelcome news about their health, and puts them in a position where they don't know how to connect in a way that is relaxing and fulfilling. Uh, um, and and music is sneaky because it can go into that space and allow us to be together meaningfully without putting someone on the spot and making them talk about, what they've been through or what they're trying to do, or where they're trying to go.
Matthew, as I hear you speak, I think half the person's problems must be solved by just listening to you talk about music. I think, you know, of course, you and your team, but
Yeah,
you have a beautiful way of talking and convincing that, music is more than what is just, a set of strings or whatever. Last
right.
question here, Matthew. Is there any particular case or person that comes to mind as having benefited? I'm sure every single person has benefited from this program, but can you think, because I've seen these videos that you have on your website and these beautiful uh, songs that have been co-created with
Yes.
new parents, with you know all different people. So is there any case that comes to your mind as being where you think that impact has been truly truly magnificent?
It's the answer is yes. But there's so many. And, I have three members of my full-time team that we met in middle school or high school who went through the program, who went to college for music, and are now working for us full time. And that's a 15-year or more long relationship of watching people progress in a beautiful way. I have uh, a woman working for us as well whose child went through our youth orchestra program, and she found her way back to us as a volunteer. I have 5 current teachers in Austin Independent School District who are employed by the district, who themselves went through our programs in the district, went on to college and came back and are teaching now in the program. I feel so lucky because I hear these stories all the time. I just got a incredibly moving email from a teacher who was teaching in a small Houston school. This email just came to me yesterday. This is very fresh. Just came to me as
Okay.
teaching in a small Houston school. His name is Max. And Max was brought into this small school in 2019 as a former band director to start a music program at the school. But then COVID hit, and all of a sudden they couldn't be in a room together to play music at all. And so he shifted to what's called music appreciation classes, which is essentially listening to music on the internet and writing about music, but not doing music. And then they came back to in person in 2021. And all the desks were surrounded on 3 sides by plexiglass for sanitation purposes. And he was still doing this class, but he was really wanted the kids to actually be able to make music, because talking about music is not nearly the same as making music. But
True.
his school budget had been cut, and they didn't have enough money to buy band instruments. So he did a poll of the students to find out what they would want to learn. And the instrument that came back highest on their poll was guitar. And so he looked around to other teachers in Houston and found some other teachers in Houston who were teaching guitar. And he said, help, I'd like to start a guitar program, but I'm not a guitar player. I don't know how to do it. And they said, well, you need to meet Austin Classical Guitar and guitarcurriculum.com. So he came to us, got set up with all of the teaching materials, came to a training, and wrote me this incredible email yesterday
Mhm.
about how the connection to our program enabled him to become successful and his students to become successful instantly when he started this new program in his school, and how that has turned into growth. It's, in his words, has saved his job, has enabled him to have a career in music, and it's something that he's incredibly grateful for. Um, and I would just end by saying that whole kind of impact um, uh, radius of students, but also teachers, also kind of goes in 360 degrees. I have so many donors who give us support for what we do, who write me incredible things about how grateful they are. I had donors with me at Williamson County Juvenile Justice Center last Friday who were so incredibly moved by that experience. And of course, it includes myself and it includes my staff. So there's so much lifting that occurs around the kind of in the area of an ecosystem that is built upon beauty and kindness. When those two things cycle together, I think the reaction is really amazing, and it can lift us all in all directions.
True. Very beautiful. Well, on that beautiful note, I will thank you, Matthew, for talking to us again.
Thank you, Tej. What a pleasure.
It has been absolutely a pleasure to talk to you. And for people who are interested in knowing more, I would request you to go to their website and find out the most amazing things that they are doing, which obviously cannot be spoken about. We cannot speak about everything here on the podcast. So please go to their website, find out how you can possibly be a part of them, support them, or even enjoy what they do. Thank you so
Definitely.
much.
Oh, Tej, what a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you all.